Quinnipiac. We have Scott Farrell from Logan Valley. We have Paul from Yukon. And we have Christopher Dorsey from Eastern and Jay Murray from Wisconsin. So we're going to go through some questions, and at the end of the questions we have for them, you certainly can ask any questions for any of our participant candidates.
Okay, excellent. So we're going to start from the beginning.
I'm sorry, we didn't introduce ourselves. I'm Karen Chance, level 3 counselor. Gina Vanek, also level 3 counselor.
Thank you for coming. Yes, and again, thank you to our panelists for coming, sharing their time, and volunteering to be with us tonight. So we're very appreciative of their time and their expertise that they're going to share with us this evening. Thank you again. So we'll start with from the beginning with an overview of the application process. So some key points. Would you mind starting?
Sure. Not at all. I'm going to stand up in hopes that I can project. I have a pretty loud voice, but sometimes I trail off. Again, my name is Carla Knowlton. I'm the Director of Admissions at Quinnipiac. I've been there for almost forever, 35 years. And so I've had the pleasure of working with many students and families over the years, which is certainly the highlight of what I do. And so at Quinnipiac, which is located in Hampton, Connecticut, I'll give you very brief information just so you have the context in which I share about our admission process. So we've got about 7,000 full-time undergraduates at Quinnipiac. When you include our graduate law and medical students in the mix, we have about 10,000 students enrolled. We're a medium-sized school, and we're an independent school. We draw students from all over, although I would say the students most heavily represent the Northeast at Quinnipiac, but we have international students from a number of different countries and students represented from most states as well. So we have a pretty nice mix of students. We're primarily a residential school, and we offer programs in a variety of different areas in the arts and sciences, health sciences, nursing, business, communications, and engineering are some of our bigger buckets, but a variety of different majors. The way that we work at Quinnipiac, again, our admission process is we operate on rolling admission, which means that we process and review applications in the order in which they are received, and we make decisions along the way. However, we do have a couple of other recommended deadlines. We do offer early decision at Quinnipiac. That is binding. And so students would only apply to Quinnipiac for early decision if they were ready to make a commitment to enroll should they be accepted. And the deadline for early decision is November 1st. We also have a few health sciences programs that we have a recommended deadline for, and those are physical therapy, occupational therapy, nursing, and physician assistant. That they all share a November 15th recommended deadline. But for us as a rolling admission school, one of the pieces of advice that we often share with students and families is for students to try to get their application in as early as possible, because at the beginning of the rolling process, we have many opportunities to select students and admit students, but of course, as we move deeper into the process, we've already accepted a number of students, and there may be more limited opportunities. Plus, we notify students pretty much in the order in which they apply, and so if you apply earlier, you tend to hear earlier, and that gives you more time, very importantly, at the decision-making part of your process once you've heard back from us admission-wise. And I'll also just mention that when a student is considered for admission at Quinnipiac, we also look at them for scholarship opportunities. So when a student is notified of their admission decision, if they've been selected to receive a scholarship, they'll receive that information as well. So for our early decision students, they might begin hearing from us as early as about Thanksgiving time in November. Other students tend to begin hearing from us with a decision in early November, and then we continue to notify students as additional decisions are made. And other than for our early decision students have until May 1st. So the earlier you enter that cycle and hear back from us, the more time you have in your own decision making on where you want to go. So I think we have a number of other questions that are about admissions requirements and whatnot. So that's just kind of an overview of our process. But I will also add that we're members of the common application, and then we have our own application at Quinnipiac. Students file one or the other. The far majority of students who apply to Quinnipiac do so using the common application. And I'd love to answer your questions when we get to that portion of the program.
Yeah.
While we're making it through these technical difficulties. So I'm with Naugatuck Valley Community College, specifically the Danbury campus. So we are an open enrollment process. Means anybody who wants to come, as long as you're looking to get a degree, we'll be glad to have you. We like to think of ourselves as quality education at affordable prices. We do have an application. You can have it a paper application or an online application. Paper, I think, works best for us in that when I pick up the paper, I try to do on-site acceptance days here. So I'll actually meet with the student, verify, yes, that everything's on the application, verify that they have the other documents needed, such as a transcript, the immunization. Those are going to help us with getting you accepted and having everything you need. And then if you have taken SATs, there are certain scores, 510 or higher in the English, 530 or higher in math, that will waive you from having to take the placement test. So with that, I can take you through that process, let you know if you do need to test, when the tests are available, how to sign up. I think the process works out real well that everybody knows what their next step is. Like we said, we have lots of different things we're going to be going through, so hopefully the other questions you have will be answered in that area.
Good evening. My name is Paul Ostick. I'm an admission officer at the University of Connecticut, and I will be visiting students. I will be visiting Danbury High School shortly for a high school visit, as well as I will be attending the college fair on October 21st. Thank you so much for coming out this evening, students and parents, to get more information about the college process. In regards to UConn, we do require students to apply using either the Common App or the Coalition application. Obviously, more students do use the Common application at this time. We do require that students complete the college essay, not to be confused with the SAT essay. So we are looking to receive the college essay, which is one of the best parts of the application process because we get to hear the student's voice over that time. I know we'll talk about that later. We do require the SAT or the ACT, and we will super score those tests. So we will get your best combined score amongst either the SAT or the ACT. Please know that they need to be sent in officially from the College Board or the ACT. And finally, we also require the official transcript from the high school. It is important that you're working with your high school counselor to make sure everything is taken care of throughout the process. Because once you apply to UConn, we only require letters of recommendation for our 4 special programs in medicine, dental, and law, but we strongly encourage that students send 2 letters of recommendation. A coach, employer, someone of that nature. The one area I will focus do recommend that you will early scholarships in the honors program. So we recommend applying on the earlier end. That means that your file is complete. So all those things that I just asked for, they are all in our hands. And you can see in your file that everything is in. This year we are asking that people have their FAFSA completed by February 15th so that we can get decisions out with financial aid packages. We work closely with that department. But as we all know, sometimes they may ask for verification, or they may ask for, this is the FAFSA, may ask for you to sign other documents. So again, you should do that on the early end with your application. But again, thank you so much for being here this evening.
I think that this is working now.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Chris Dorsey. I'm the Director of Admissions at Eastern. I'm an Eastern alum. I'm also an EHS alum a few years ago. So thank you for coming out tonight. I'll talk to you quick about how we review applications at Eastern. So we work on a rolling admissions basis, so we'll start reviewing applications as early as mid-October, and then we'll probably get our first round of decisions out to families in mid-November. We do ask for the high school transcript. We are test optional, so if the students can choose to send us these scores or not. I get often asked, what should I send them? It's really your choice. If you feel like it's a representative of your ability, then you can send them, but you don't have to. We don't require them. We spend most of our review time on the transcript because we found that that's the best predictor of success at Eastern, so we will spend a lot of time on the transcript. The essay is also really important, that you mentioned earlier. We do like to hear from the student voice. It is quite clear if an essay was either written or influenced by a parent. You can definitely tell that in the first sentence or two, and we don't like reading those essays. So we'd rather really have the student tell their story, who they are, and it's the one-time application that you have the opportunity to tell your story, and it is important that you can make it in your voice and tell us a little something about who you are when we read your application. We review for scholarships at the time of acceptance, or we review for applications. So if you're offered a scholarship, you'll get that on your acceptance letter. Again, we'll start doing that probably next few weeks, and then get students out early November. Encourage your students to apply early because you get a certain earlier, and like pointing back, we do get a little more competitive as we get closer and through the process because we have less spots available for students.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jay Murray. I'm the AVP for Enrollment Services at Western Connecticut State University. We're, of course, your local regional comprehensive. We're about 5,000 undergraduate students, probably 600 graduate students, so kind of a small size school. Our admissions office is rolling admission. We are a member of the Common Application. All freshmen must submit their application via the Common Application. Our freshman application deadline is April 1. Like my sister school, we are also a test optional institution. But I would say for the most part, majority of our students will submit either the SAT or the ACT. Probably less than 10% of the incoming class will choose to go test optional, mostly because students who are interested in nursing, students who are interested in admission into the honors program, students who are interested in scholarship consideration must submit their test scores. We must have either SAT or your ACT scores submitted officially for consideration for those three things. But students who do not feel that their high school transcript is an accurate reflection of who they are as a student or their potential to be a student at university do not have to submit their test scores. That is a choice as a default right on the Common Application. To mirror some things my colleagues said, we do also require the essay from first-time, first-year students. This is important, I think, for you because you have to realize that it's a paperless and sometimes a faceless process, and the student essay is the one opportunity you have to tell the admissions committee who you are as a student, what makes you unique, what makes you special, what sets you aside from the other perfectly admissible candidates who do apply for admission to the university. And a plug, our open house is on Sunday, November 3rd.
Jay, can I ask you, because this is a question I get from some of my students, without being also please, do you expect to have those SATs in hand once they're accepted? Do you use that for placement?
Ooh, that is a great question. It's funny because all of our first year academic courses are linked to the test scores. So students who are admitted test optional who do not submit after the fact for placement will be asked to take a placement exam. That's how we handle that.
Do you want to go into a little bit of your requirements too, as we're talking about things just in general?
So requirements, well, it's always difficult to do requirements for admission. So first I toss out, all students are considered equally. For first-time students, we're going to look at your transcript. That is the best reflection of your potential for academic success. We'll look at your test scores if submitted, your essay, recommendations, level of activity, program of study that you're interested in, which I'd say is this realistic for the student. Our average incoming first-time, first-year student this year, fresh person, had a B average and a 1098 on the SAT. So generally, that will give you kind of the range of what we're looking for admission.
We also review every application, and we're just looking for the right fit. So again, the essay does a lot, the budget recommendation. For us, our averages, again, for those who submitted SAT scores last year was 11.22, and the average GPA of a student that enrolled this year was a 3.4. So the GPA, again, the much bigger picture and what we look for. We also look at class rank, and you guys we'll look at your class rank to see how you compare with students from your school, and we do factor that into the decision-making process.
In regards to requirements for UConn, we do have the Stores campus, which is our main campus, as well as 4 regional campuses. The closest to here would be the Waterbury and Stanford campuses, but we also have Hartford and Avery Point. The Stores campus, we're looking at, because every school is different, we're looking at an A to B range with an average SAT score of about a 1300. And at the regional campuses, we were looking at a B plus average with about an 1100 on the SAT. But for students we have students who start at the Stores campus and switch to regional campuses. We have students who start at the regional campuses, and after 54 credits, they can either go up to the Stores campus, or in some cases, they'll stay at the regional campus that they started at, or another regional campus. And regardless of which campus you are at, when you graduate, you are a UConn student, or your time there, you are a UConn student, but your degree looks exactly the same.
So in our case, again, we are open enrollment, so anybody who wants to come, we want you to come. Again, whatever your past grades were, that happened in high school. This gives you a chance to start anew, create your GPA, do well with us, and again, we're only a 2-year school, so you gotta go somewhere else if you want a bachelor's. So one of these fine institutions here will be glad to pick you up, as long as you've shown that, hey, I can do college level work. As far as SAT scores, we'll take them from College Board. You just need to print them out. You don't need officials. You don't need to pay again to have scores sent to us. So we'll take them from there, so you can use that. If you took them, you felt you didn't do so well, you're thinking about taking them again, we have a placement test. The placement test is free. It's the same people. College Board is the one that makes AccuPlacer, so you don't looking not to spend additional funds. You can take the AccuPlacer, and we can figure out where you are for math and English. If by chance you're ESL, we'll also figure out what level of ESL. With that, you actually have to do an essay as part of the exam. And look at the grammar to figure out what level of ESL you'll start.
Great. And at Quinnipiac, some of the essential pieces for a complete application are, as you've already heard, an official copy of your high school transcript. We require test scores for some students in our process, but not all. Most of our majors are test optional, and I'll give you a little more detail on that. And then we'll look very strongly at all of your supporting materials. That's where your essay, your extracurricular activities, where we can get a sense of what you might bring to the community at Quinnipiac and how you've managed your time while in high school. So we emphasize your high school transcript in this process, looking very closely at the level of courses you've taken, the grades that you've maintained, and your performance over your high school experience. And we'll also look at any of your school reported information, like your overall grade point average and your rank in class as well. The most recent class, so the class who just started at Quinnipiac this fall, their average SAT for students joining us was 1,200, and the average GPA was about 3.46 or 3.47 on a 4.0 scale. And where students came from high schools reporting a rank in class, I would say about top 24 to 25% was average. Now keep in mind, those are all averages, those are not minimums. That's merely to give you an idea of the overall profile of students, and some of our programs are more competitive than others. Some of our health sciences programs and nursing tend to be more selective, so there are more competitive averages for certain majors at Quinnipiac as well. In terms of being test optional, we require SAT or ACTs for students applying to nursing and the health sciences at Quinnipiac. For any other student, it's optional, but in many cases, we encourage the student to send their scores. Very often, they help them admission-wise and might help them scholarship-wise. Plus, we have some accelerated dual degree programs that we find it very helpful to see a student's scores in order to consider them for those options as well. So again, test optional, and we also accept self-reported SATs or ACTs in the admission process. We will make an admission decision and potentially a scholarship decision based on your self-reported scores as shared in the application process. But then if you are accepted and choose to enroll at Quinnipiac, then we will require verified scores by June 1st. So it just helps to keep students moving forward in our process as well.
Carla, can I ask, and the rest of the panel, how much weight do you put in an AP class versus an honors college prep?
So I think you probably all heard the question, but how much weight do we place on course levels like an AP class or honors or college prep? So at Quinnipiac, we are looking for students who are in college prep level courses or more competitive level classes. We don't require that students take honors or AP, but very often students can strengthen their application by taking more challenging courses, which we do recommend. We like students to take the most challenging course that they can do well in while in high school. But that's something that you'll need to decide, and your school counselor can probably help you make a good choice on which course level might be appropriate for you. But we do like to see students challenging themselves. And of course, when we look at how you do in a class, we are taking into consideration the level of course that you are in as well.
So in our case, it's great to have AP classes. We want you to have AP classes. It's going to help you get through the process of getting a degree sooner with us. But don't look at the weight of the classes and making a decision. Again, anybody who wants to come, we want you to come. Please come. Enjoy. 129 of your class of 2018 graduates came to us. So again, it shows that we have a good program. And if you want to find out more about it, we also do programs called College Student for a Day, where we actually come, sit in classes, see what it's all about. So,
as mentioned before, working with your counselor, your high school counselors, and making sure you're taking their advice in making your high school schedule is paramount. So if you can take all AP courses and get all A's in those classes, that's amazing, that's great. But for a student who takes too many AP courses and then is stressed out and can't perform academically and can't sleep and eat and gives themselves anxiety, that's a terrible situation. So again, really looking at every individual student, making sure you are challenging yourself within reason for you to push yourself and also be successful. that's what we are looking for at UConn. So again, do the best you can and challenge yourself within reason, working with your counselor.
So, pretty much everyone gave their correct advice already. But we do the same thing. We want to see students challenge themselves. If we see a student getting all A's in the lowest level classes, we're going to question why they didn't move themselves up. But we also don't want to see a student getting D's in the higher level classes. So the most competitive classes you could take. For our general admissions process, we will take a look at it. More we're comparing two students, we'll look at the level of course they took, and that also shows up in the class rank a lot of times. The only really program that spends a lot of time on AP classes is our honors program. We have an honors program that takes only 25 students a year, and they will look at, they count how many AP students that a student takes, because we had 150 applications for that 25 spots last year. I was happy that not this year's class, but last year's class of the 25, 2 came from this high school, which was my bragging rights for the whole year at Eastern. So yeah, take the most competitive course you can take, challenge yourself, but don't take classes that are just to take those classes.
So I'll kind of go ditto on what my colleagues have said, probably being last. But I will answer a question before somebody asks. And the question is, of course, is it better to get a B in a regular course or a C in an AP course? It's better to get a B in the AP course. If you are not going to succeed in the AP course, get out of the AP course. The weak grade in the AP course does not help you. You have to be able, if you're going to take the AP course, you need to be able to succeed in it. That's what the colleges are looking for.
Can someone briefly answer, I don't think everybody needs to, but how you would determine if a student is awarded credit at the college level, if they did take an AP course, just briefly how that comes into the process?
So essentially, if you've taken the AP course, and Chris and I laugh because we have an inside joke here. Not our joke, someone else made the joke, we just think it's funny. For students who take an AP, you submit official results of the exam to the university, and they are brought in just as transfer credit. A grade of X on the AP exam equals a X score. Now, what the system office did is they signed an agreement with the College Board that said all of the CSUs will take a 3 or above in any course. But I'm going to put a star, an asterisk next to that, because you could get credit, but not for the course you took the AP exam for. Because we have things like physics, you still need a 5. We have, so there are courses that still require a 4 and a 5. So a 3 or above in the AP exam will get you credit, but it might not necessarily get you credit for the course you are looking to get to receive credit. That's clear? In college.
Yeah, we take a 3 or higher. We have less people in that situation because we already took a 3 or higher. But yeah, 3 or higher, and you get credit for those classes. Most of us have on our websites chart that will say, you take this AP class, here are the credits that come in at, so you can kind of go through and see what classes you're taking. Sometimes there's weird things if you take AP Lit and Comp and AP Language and Comp, they come over differently. For the most part, it goes right through and shows you what credits you get for every class you take.
I have a similar answer to that, but I will also say that at UConn, that whole process takes place the summer going in and towards the beginning of your freshman year, because obviously we're only going to transfer credit for students who decide to go to UConn to save a lot of time throughout the process. But one thing you can do is if you go to our website or even just Google UConn credit equivalency, it brings you up, I'm assuming it's a website or a portion of the website that is used throughout the state, but it'll give you every single institution in the state, from the community colleges to all of us sitting up here to Yale and beyond, and it'll show you this course at Eastern is equivalent to this course at UConn, that's equivalent to this course at any other school. So that can help you have an idea, but again, it doesn't guarantee that you will get the credit until it goes through our transfer team in the summer.
Yeah. So we are 3 or higher. I thought it was interesting. I had actually a student from Danbury who graduated, was looking to take a summer course even before they graduated, and they're planning on going to UConn. So we look, and they're like, I want to take this course. I'm like, oh, you took the AP, what'd you get? And they told me, and they got it free. So for us, it 3 works. For UConn, it doesn't. So they need to take it, and they're looking to go into the sciences. So for them, taking it with us wouldn't do them any good anyway. They really need to take that course at UConn. That's going to give them a better chance of being successful within the program within UConn. So instead, they took another course with us over the summer, Com 100, which is their Com 1000, meets the requirement, helps them get the credit, and then gives her more chance to be successful in that science class at UConn. Again, we're trying to work with you and put you in the right places that's going to help you get the credits you need depending on where you can go. Because again, we only can give associate's degrees. We want to see you get that bachelor's degree. So we're going to do everything possible.
I'm sorry, I did a terrible job answering that last question. In addition to what I said, we do have a portion of the website that will show that we do require mostly 4s and 5s on the AP courses. We do accept the IB diploma, and we'll have a similar chart that gives that shows what we will require there. And then finally, we do have the ECE courses that students can take. Not only will you get credit at UConn by taking those courses, but the grade will also transfer as well. So please make sure you are successful in those classes because you don't want to bring a lower grade to your GPA. I think I covered it there. Apologies for that.
And at Quinnipiac, it's a 3 or better in most subjects on the AP exam, except in English, math, and science, where students need to have a 4 or better. And we will also look at the possibility of transferring any college level courses like the ECE courses that you might take while in high school to Quinnipiac as well. The general rule of thumb is you need to have a C or better in the class in order for us to consider it for possible transfer.
Thank you. The next point we're going to ask for some advice on is considering public versus private colleges and universities in your selection of a school.
Public all the way.
Yeah. We have 4 out of 5.
4 out of 5.
Recommend public.
How appropriate to start with.
So I have a question on your AP copy, while you're
Oh, yes.
copy. Suppose I take an AP course, right, and I did not get such good grades. Is it okay to not transfer the AP, or will it automatically always transfer?
You have to submit the scores to the school for the school to know. So if you don't submit it, they don't know.
No, I submitted, right, and I said, okay, my grades are not the best, right, they're average.
It's the AP test score that will be correct.
Right, so after a student decides where they'll enroll, the question is about AP exam score results and whether or not, how that might factor in if a student chooses to send them or not send them. So if a student has been accepted and has made their selection of the school that they will enroll at, then they will contact the College Board for an official score report to go to that school that you are enrolling at. We won't require that. Does anyone require that at any point earlier in the process? No. So I think generally students do not need to provide that. Your high school transcript will indicate that a student's in an AP level course, but you will only elect to send the exam, and you can decide once you get your score whether or not you want to release them based on the score policy at that college or university.
You can also choose not to take the credit. We've got students that do that. They took their AP Bio or their bio major, and they want to take an entry level class at Eastern. They'll choose not to take credit for the class. They'll send it to us, say, I'd rather take that class over again, and we just take the credit off of the correction. So they can do that.
Great, and so we've been asked to talk a little bit about private versus public, and I'm a little outnumbered here. I would say one of the differences that you'll note probably quite quickly is the difference in cost from a public to a private institution or vice versa. And so what I will say to that is that at private schools, I can only speak for Quinnipiac here, we make a very strong commitment to scholarship opportunities and a strong financial aid process. in order for students to be able to choose a school like Quinnipiac as well. And because we know that finances very much come into play as students and families make a decision on enrollment, we are always looking to improve ourselves, to be very competitive, to make sure that our students are very well prepared and there are strong measurable outcomes. And so you'll find that we continuously work very, very hard in order to offer a very strong product and experience and return on investment to students and families.
So of course I'd like people to go to public ones. However, tell you a little story. So my daughter, when we were looking at schools, and her counselor seems to be standing right there, because when Ms. Vanek used to be at Brookfield, she was my daughter's counselor, and my son's counselor. But my daughter had this thing that she wanted to do PT. So when we're looking at schools that have those particular programs. And she identified a school, private school, Franklin Pierce, that had a program. We went, we visited, she liked it. She wanted to be there. And again, based on their ability to give financial aid, they actually made it that it was less expensive to go to the private school than it would if she would have went to one of the state universities, even with my discount. So it is, again, I think it goes back to what makes sense for you as a family, what is the right thing for the student when you look at that. Again, we can say, yes, we agree with private, with public, whatever, but again, it has to be the right fit for the student. If it's not the right fit, they don't want to be there, it's not good. And that's why my daughter's at UConn.
I could not agree more with the whole conversation of fit. At this point in time, if you're a senior, you're on the cusp of applying to a variety of different schools. And again, I hope it is a variety of different types of schools. So you should be looking public versus private. You should be looking in-state versus out-of-state. You should be looking at an urban campus versus a more rural campus. You should be looking at all different types of schools at this point in time. If you're a sophomore or junior, you're even more ahead of the game where you can do it in a little bit more of a relaxed state, I guess you could say. But you really do need to find the right fit for you. In regards to UConn, we do offer an opportunity where you can apply to our Stores campus. You can apply to one of our regional campuses. There's different experiences for you at UConn. As well as, I know Scott brought some paper from our GAP program where students can even start, they can go to one of our community colleges in the state of Connecticut, get their associates, and have a guaranteed acceptance into UConn. So there's a variety of different options for you, but again, it comes down to the right fit, because if you go to any institution and it's not the right fit for you, there could be some struggles along the way. So we want you to be comfortable, we want you to be successful, and we want you to be in the right institution.
There we go, sorry. So obviously, same shameless plug, I would like you to go to a public university. The one thing I do usually tell people in Connecticut is there's a reason why our costs are a little less than many private schools. It's because you're covering some of that with your tax dollars. So you're already, the reason why it's less expensive, so for in-state versus out-of-state, it's about $13,000 different out-of-state versus in-state, and that's partly because tax dollars cover the other costs of attendance. So you're already, by working and living in the state, you're already putting into, part of the cost. So it's, might as well take advantage of those tax dollars.
And lastly, I'll just add, and just remember when you're looking at schools, it is 100% about fit. It's about where you want to go, where you can spend the next 4 years of your life, where's the best program that you want to study, where do you feel comfortable, and less about the cost, particularly when you're looking up front. Worry about that later on in the process, and remember, just like buying a car, nobody pays the sticker price. Whether it's public or private, what's published is actually not the out-of-pocket cost. So you want to put the other factors first and the cost later. I'm not saying that you can ignore the cost because it's a factor we're all going to have to pay at some point, but don't rule out schools just because you think the sticker price is too high, because the fit, where you're going to be happy, is going to be the most important part of that college process, not the cost, regardless of whether it's a public or a private school.
Okay, well, you have the microphone. You want to speak to the TAP program a little bit?
Ooh.
Is that part of your program anymore?
You mean TAP in New York? No. The transfer articulation program, okay. This is an effort to put forth a seamless transition from the 12 community colleges in Connecticut to the 4 CSUs in Connecticut, and partnering up specific programs at the associate degree level that would transfer seamlessly at the completion of the associate degree into a baccalaureate program at one of the CSUs. It's been, how many years are we in with TAP now? 4? 4 years. And not every single program has been articulated yet, but upon entry in the community colleges, the TAP programs are clearly labeled, clearly spelled out, and you're actually then kind of mentored through the process to then transfer seamlessly into a 4-year.
Yeah, the one challenging thing about the TAP program is you have to know going in that you're going to do that, and if your plan is to go to the community college for a year, and the way the application is set up is that the first option is TAP. So there's a TAP for business, there's a TAP for accounting, TAP for English, but then the regular English is below that. So you kind of have to know what you want to do to pick the right application if you're going to go that route. But it is a great program. The faculty from the 4 schools met with together to kind of make sure those classes came over properly to make it as seamless as possible.
Well, let me add another school to this, because there is the 4 state universities and Charter Oak State College, which I am actually a graduate. So I had spent my time after I graduated school, I joined the Army. So going to my schools in the Army, they were evaluated for college credits. So after I finished at Naugatuck, I have a degree in general studies and one in business management, I was able to take that along with my military credits, have it evaluated. They said, oh, based on your military, you have 60 credits. I had 4 classes to do to be able to get my bachelor's degree. So that got me through the process a lot quicker, especially since I waited so long, because I did my 22 years in the Army first. Then I got my degree. But it also left me money left over in my GI Bill that I went on to the University of New Haven and got an MBA. So it works out well. Charter Oak also has an interesting program that they just put out most recently, where any of the students coming out of the state community colleges, again, Charter Oak is the state's online school. So there is a small campus in New Britain right next to Central. You do not go there for classes. Everything is online. But they came out with a system where they said, if you graduate from the community colleges, we will have you pay the community college rate to get your bachelor's degree. And they'll give you 5 years to be able to do that. So it's a pretty awesome program. Again, it depends on you as a student. Online is always, just because it's online doesn't mean it's easy. It's usually harder. You have to teach yourself more. But from a financial standpoint, gives you the opportunity to be more flexible of what works for you to be able to get where you want to go.
Great. At Quinnipiac, we don't participate in the TAP program, but we do gladly work with students who are interested in transfer. Actually, we've just signed seamless transfer agreements with Gateway Community College and Housatonic Community College, and hope to develop more agreements with the 2-year schools in Connecticut as well. And so we're very happy to work with transfer students, and do have usually around 200 students join us each fall by transfer.
So if you could talk a little bit about some of the more popular majors or programs at your school, specifically nursing, if that's offered.
We do offer nursing at Quinnipiac. That is one of our most popular programs of study. So we have a School of Nursing, but then we also have a separate School of Health Sciences, which houses some of our other very popular programs like physical therapy, occupational therapy, physician assistant, also very popular. Although we began as a business school, and our business programs remain to be some of our strongest levels of interest at Quinnipiac. We also have a growing School of Communications and Engineering as well. And our College of Arts and Sciences tends to be our largest school of study. And so we have students studying in a variety of different programs. We do find that we talk a lot about nursing and our health sciences, and I think that's because they tend to be a little more competitive and selective than our other programs of study. And so one of the additional pieces that I'll share about those programs, in addition to sharing a little bit of a stronger profile for admitted students than what I shared earlier, we also very much value any exposure or experience that a student has been able to gain while in high school or through their larger community that has gained them some opportunity for experience in the healthcare field. Because we have limited seats in many of those programs, we like to be sure that we're enrolling students who are very strongly committed and will be persistent in programs that can be very challenging. So certainly we're looking at their academic profile, but are also looking for anything that illustrates the student's knowledge of the field and commitment to the field as well. So, and that's a great way for you if you're considering a particular program of interest to gain some exposure in the field. We don't expect you to know necessarily while you're in high school exactly what you'd like to study. And many of our students come in undeclared at Quinnipiac, but there are a few programs like nursing, physical therapy, physician assistant, that really students need to secure their seat at the freshman level in order to have a seat assured in that program. So that puts the emphasis on maybe knowing a little bit more while in high school. So that's where some of that experiential learning opportunity really comes in very handy for you and for us in our selection process.
So our top 4 programs, so I ran the report today to get an idea of where we're at. So general studies, number 1. Again, we have a lot of students who know they want to get additional education, but not really sure what they want to do. So they come in and do the general studies to be able to get their gen ed classes done. And during that first and second term, we're talking to them, having them sit in some classes, get an idea of what kinds of things make sense to them, do some research, career exploration tools, so that they can come up with a program that works. However, the next is our general studies pre-nursing. So all our students, when they come and they want to go into nursing, would come into the pre-nursing. We also have radiology, respiratory, and physical therapy assistant. So they all have a pre. There's certain programs that they have to complete. Once they do that, they can apply to that particular program. Once they're accepted, then they'll actually do for 2 years that particular thing. So if they're in nursing, they'll do 2 years of nursing. Business studies is our 3rd most popular, and then criminology studies. So if it's a studies, that is one of the TAP degrees. So that means they're going to start with us and then continue at one of the state schools. So with that, our nursing program, recently Nursing Advocacy Organization, registerednursing.org, ranked Naugatuck Valley Community College as one of the top 4 programs in the state. UConn Avery Point, number 1. Yale, number 2. Sacred Heart, number 3. For Naugatuck Valley Community College. So how do they come up with this? What are they using as criteria? One is pass rate on what's called the NCLEX, which is the test you have to take to become a nurse. We have a 98% pass rate. Completion of the program, 85% of our students pass the program who come into it. And we also have a 95% employment rate after they graduate within 1 year. And again, most of our students usually will continue on There's an ASN to BSN program at both Western Connecticut State University. They have an office campus on our campus in Waterbury, so the students have a clear path to go there. And recently, our friends at Charter Oak State College decided to start an ASN to BSN program. So what's good about that again? First, it's online, so you can do it while you're working. And secondly, you pay the rates of the community college instead of the universities. Again, opportunities are there.
In regards to UConn, we do have, each year, the number of students who apply in different programs, can vary. Our School of Nursing as well as our School of Engineering are two of our most popular schools. I will say, I did not mention this earlier in terms of requirements. In the School of Nursing as well as the School of Engineering, you do have to have taken physics and chemistry. So if you do not have that on your high school transcript at this point in time, you definitely want to have a conversation with your counselor. It may be an opportunity where you can, students will in these situations, in the fall or most likely at this point in the spring, they can take a course at a local community college. We don't allow students to do that in the summer because we want to make sure that they've completed the course before we would matriculate them into either of those programs. But the School of Nursing is extremely popular. We typically enroll 100 students, and again, that has mostly to do with the amount of clinical opportunities students can have at hospitals in the area. In terms of engineering, there's a variety of different majors: biomedical, mechanical, chemical engineering, that are very popular. In our College of Agricultural Health and Natural Resources, we have allied health science, which is extremely popular, and there are students who may want nursing but end up in allied health sciences as a parallel plan. People think you can only be a doctor or you can only be a nurse to work in the healthcare field. That's not the case. There's many different opportunities in allied health sciences, such the fact that we are actually this upcoming year starting students will be able to complete all 4 years in allied health science at our Waterbury campus, which is great news, as well as our College of Liberal Arts and Sciences. We have some popular majors such as psychology, psychological sciences. Interesting fact is at the Stanford campus, many people think that business degrees or majors would be the most popular. Psychological sciences is the number one major at our Stanford campus. But we do also have some interesting business programs as well that are very popular in finance, marketing, management, and then we have specific business programs that you can only take at the regional campuses, such as business data analytics, business administration. So just be aware that on the application, as you can choose 2 campuses, whether it's stores in Waterbury, stores in Stanford, or vice versa, versus as well as 2 different majors, a first choice, second choice. We do have a large number of students who come in undecided through our ACES program, the Academic Center for Exploratory Students. We welcome students who are undecided. It's okay to not know exactly what you want to study or what you want to do post-college. So that program really helps students find out what they value in their time at UConn. Whether it's 1 semester, 2, 3, 4 semesters where you're undeclared, special advisors will help you figure out what you value.
Okay, I'll be quick because I'm getting kind of late in time. So our biggest majors are education, psychology, comm, and business, probably the top 4. We do have a health science major that it has pre-physical therapy, pre-nursing, allied health, and public health options. It's a relatively new program, and it's become one of our 3rd largest majors in the last 5 years. We just purchased this virtual dissection table, which is basically a full-size iPad, and when people give their body science, they process these bodies into basically an iPad, and we did a demo of it last week, and it was so realistic I started getting nauseous because one of my coworkers took the heart out and was cutting it open. It was too lifelike, but it's a great tool. We were talking to the person who runs the program, and she said that the hospitals are starting to use these things to do almost like dry runs on surgeries. they'll say, the surgical fluids, like, here's what we're in the cut, we're going through here, and they kind of will run through something. So it's a great tool if you're gonna go into those areas, because that will be something that you'll be using in the future.
At Western Connecticut State University, we're broken down to 4 undergraduate schools: our Macrocosta School of Arts and Sciences, Ansell School of Business, School of Professional Studies, and then our smallest, which is the School of Visual Performing Arts. Our largest major for incoming students is going to be Justice and Law Administration. That's criminal justice, is what they call it at most schools. Then we're going to look at things like psychology, nursing, and education. Those are probably our largest undergraduate programs. Probably the 3rd or 4th for incoming freshmen, though, is actually, anyone want to guess? Undeclared. Those that have absolutely no idea what they want to study. I want to be clear on this. It is okay not to know what you want to do. And we're kind of guilty of this as admissions folks, because what's the first thing we ask you when we see you? Well, second thing, it's usually where are you from, what do you want to study? We're just making polite conversation. It is okay not to know. You do have time in college. Really, you know, college is about exploring, it's about spending mom and dad's money, it's about figuring out what you want to do for the rest of your life. So it's okay for particularly that first and second year, and you're going to have a core kind of liberal arts curriculum for the first 2 years to kind of figure out your way, find out what you're really interested in. And most people, I think it's like 50% of all college freshmen go to college without knowing what they want to study. The other 50% lied and will change at least once before they graduate. So it is okay not to know, and you will figure it out. The key is at the institution, try to find out what resources they have to help you figure out what you want to study later on. What's going to be, again, that fit based on what your interests, what your skills, and what you want to do.
In the interest of time, let's kind of lump together student life, campus life, athletics.
Okay. Student life is what you want to make of it. You know, all schools are kind of going to be in the same bucket. 75 clubs and organizations. We have 17, I think, Division III. We're a Division III school. But there is the opportunity for students at Western Connecticut State University to be involved in whatever they would like, and you're going to be encouraged to do so.
Real quick, so we have Division III as well. We have 18 varsity sports teams for men and women, about 100 clubs and organizations on campus. We are the most residential of the CSU system. So our incoming freshman class, about 90% will live on campus, and the overall student body, 65% live on campus. There's a lot to do on campus. Every year we get parents call and say, my son or daughter wants to go home, there's nothing to do. So I say, can you go onto this website? It's a website of all the activities, and they're like, I show them the website, and they're like, okay, thanks, goodbye. So there's plenty to do, but you have to go out of your room, you have to get out and see things and experience things. No matter where students go, national data shows that students that get involved in one or more clubs have 3 times higher graduation rates. So whatever you are passionate about at that school, join those clubs. And you can start, most schools will allow you to start your own club. When I started Eastern about 14 years ago, we had 56 clubs, now we're over 100. And they were all started by students that had different interests.
Thank you so much. At UConn, we have Division I athletics, but we also have club sports, intramural sports for students who want to get involved. But the Division I athletics is really great for campus life. We have over 700 different clubs and activities, from those things I just mentioned to student organizations to cultural centers. One area I definitely want to mention is we have a brand new recreation center on campus. It is unbelievable. It's great to look up online, but I definitely recommend coming to visit campus and seeing it with your own eyes. It's ridiculous. I also would also say come to any of our open houses, Husky for a Day visits, to really experience it for yourself. And please make sure you visit the UConn Dairy Bar and get some of the best ice cream I've ever had in my life.
So I was there last week and I had my Husky tracks work out well. My daughter is a junior there. She actually went to the new gym facility to check it out. She's like, okay, let's see how long the lines are going to be. And there wasn't. She was actually able to go in and use the facility, so it was awesome. On our case, though, we don't have dorms. We have no athletics. However, we do have tuition for a full year at $4,516. We have over 40 clubs and organizations, and again, if you don't like one of the clubs we have, get you and 7 of your friends together and you can start your own club, which means that you'll also have funding to be able to do activities and so forth. So again, it's all about what you want to do. We want you involved, but it has to be what makes sense for the student. And what kind of club or organization do you want? So every semester we have different stuff being started.
We are primarily a residential school. Around 95% of our freshmen live with us at Quinnipiac. Of the overall population, I'd say about 85% live in Quinnipiac. The reason that number drops a little is some students will move off campus in their upper years. We guarantee housing for 3 years. In a student's senior year, it's on a space available basis, but most years we're able to accommodate any students who want to stay in university housing. We tend to attract students who have been very involved in their high school or larger communities. So we have a very engaged student population and about 150 different clubs and organizations. We're Division I in our athletic programs, 21 athletic teams. And we just are starting club sports this year, not in every sport. And we do have a really strong intramural athletic program as well. So we tend to have a very active population.
Okay, so I know we're getting a little bit late on time. I thought I'd just kind of give you an idea about where we're going next. Next, we're going to hear from the panelists about anything else that we didn't talk about yet that they want to share, either about their institution or any words of advice for students considering where they'd like to be post-high school or what they think parents need to know. Okay, then we'll open up for questions for the panelists. Lastly, Karen Chance and I will talk about the application process more specific to what you need to know to getting your information from Danbury High School sent out to the places you plan to apply to. So that piece is primarily for seniors, and that's where we're going. So just three more chunks here. Okay, helps you plan your time a little bit. All right, so panelists, just anything else that you want to mention about your college and university, go about that specifically, or would you like students to know in general about their classes?
And so since I have the microphone, I'll start. I guess 2 quick things that I'd like to make sure you know about Quinnipiac is we have a number of accelerated dual degree programs where students can earn a bachelor's degree and a master's degree in a couple of situations in 4 years. So in communications and business, for instance, business students would leave with a bachelor's degree and their MBA degree in 4 years. Now, students need to be invited for these options, and it's based on the strength of a student's record, but there are some really nice financial incentives in terms of doing an accelerated dual degree program, and we find that our graduates are doing really well in their fields, respective fields. And then the other thing I'd like to say about Quinnipiac is it's a school that I think very well blends a very strong liberal arts education and professional development. We offer internship opportunities or clinical experiences in every single major at Quinnipiac. Many of our majors require internship or clinical so that students, while they're with us, are able to gain some professional experience, plus they intertwine into the curriculum professional development throughout a student's time at Quinnipiac. So it helps students be very well prepared, whether they're going right on to graduate school or into a working position. And then the last pieces, I guess, of advice that I would share is please ask questions of the different colleges and universities you are investigating. We all have staffs of people who are interested in talking with you, engaging with you, answering your questions. If you call or email the admissions office, meet someone at a college fair, come to our campuses for a visit. That's probably one of the best ways to get a sense of whether a school is going to be a good match for you. But it's all about information, and we're eager to share information with you that will be helpful to you. We're not going to tell you what to do or what's best for you. You need to decide that, but we're all geared up and ready to share as much information as we can to make this a successful process for you. And I hope you enjoy the process. I know it can be a little daunting at some points in it, but it's a wonderful way for students to learn more about themselves and for families and students to have some wonderful conversations about this whole process. So I wish you all very well as you embark on it.
So one of the things I just want to talk about is DACA students. So if there's any out there thinking about coming to school, again, we accept everybody who wants to come. A recent change on the state level, this year will be the first year that there will be state money available under what's called Roberta Willis State Scholarships, where you can get that money. Previously you weren't able to get it, so that'll happen. And the other thing I would suggest is, I have flyers in the back. On October 6th, we are doing College Gold Sunday. So if you need help or trying to figure out that FAFSA, don't know what's going on, bring your paperwork. It tells you what you need to bring. Come down, and we'll walk you through the process, no matter what school you're going to. There's no requirement that you have to be coming in on. But if you need help with it, please come. October 6th, 1:30, Technology Hall at the Waterbury campus.
In regards to undocumented students, similarly, we are going to have state funds that go towards those students based off of the recent legislature passed, and students will, they do need to have been at a Connecticut high school for 2 years, and there's some more information about that on our website, and students need to fill out an acknowledgement form from that perspective. One thing I will say, there's so much information about all our institutions and everywhere you'll be looking, but at UConn, there are so many different resources available to you in the classroom, outside the classroom, opportunities for you to socialize with your peers, service opportunities, study abroad options. Again, I could go on and on and on and not cover it all. So I will recommend that you look those resources up, look up our website, come visit us, but make sure when you are on whichever campus you choose, whichever institution you choose next year, take advantage of those resources to really make the best of your experience and the best of your 4 years. Because it's for 4 years, but it's beyond that as well. It's really an important process of your growth. So thanks for having me this evening.
I'll just go through 3 quick pieces of advice. The first is visit the college you're interested in applying to. We all spend a lot of money on view books, and I always tell the story of, I used to work in the SUNY system, and I had a colleague that worked at SUNY Buffalo, and their view book did not have one picture of anyone with a coat on it in the whole view book. They were all in shorts and t-shirts. It's had like the first week of classes. So the view books tell only part of the story. You want to visit the campus, see if there's people that look like you could be friends with, that you fit in with. The other piece is parents, let the students run this process and own the process. They're going to college. Every college fair I go to, I have a parent saying, we're looking to study this. I'm like, oh, you guys are coming together to the package. So, let them own the package, own the thing. And on that line, students, do yourself a favor and create a college email for your college search process, because we think it's funny. We see some really outrageous email addresses, but it doesn't look great on a student. But also, we're going to send you a ton of email. So you want a separate email address that you must check, because we're all sending emails. You can unsubscribe for things you don't need, but most schools are going to send you emails about everything through the whole process. And when I mentioned earlier about owning the process, parents, please let the student fill out the application. There's probably 10% of the time I text a student off of a phone number I get on the application. It's the parent's email address, text message, phone number. So please let the student fill out the application. One quick thing, they asked to talk about DACA. We also will offer in-state tuition and DACA students can get funding. We've also partnered with an organization called the Dream.us about 4 years ago now that offers scholarships for DACA recipients in Connecticut from Eastern. So they cover their tuition, and then they would have to pay housing costs at Eastern. So it's an organization out of DC that's providing those scholarship funds, and then we're the school that they chose in Connecticut to partner with.
So kind of to wrap things up, the only piece of advice I can give to students is, lately I've been getting questions from families, and it's growing more and more each year. They'll call, they're desperate, it's usually about March, and they say, we don't know what to do, Johnny's trying to apply to your school, but he can't because the Common App won't let him, because he's applied to too many schools. And I didn't know this, the Common Application has a limit, it's 20. You have to really question your desire to go to one school if you're applying to 20. You should not be applying to, if you remember one thing, don't apply to 20 schools. It's not good, it's not working out. But you also have to remember, only one of those 20, one of those 3, one of those 4 you want to attend. The rest of the applications you submit are actually just taking a seat away from a student who actually wanted to go to that college or university, all right? It doesn't help. You can't collect college admissions decisions like Manolo Blahnik's shoes, all right? It doesn't work that way. So that's my piece of advice. And last thing about Western Connecticut State University, again, open house Sunday, November 3rd.
Our open house is October 5th, Saturday. I forgot to mention it.
Just had one on Saturday, I hope I saw you there, and we have one on Sunday, October 20th.
Last Sunday in April is ours. But anytime you want to come, just give me a call. I'll be glad to work something out.
I wish I could remember our open house dates off the top of my head. September 30th was one, so that just passed, but I think it's October 20th or 21st, and then again, November 9th and November 10th. But we'd be happy to see you at another time if those are not convenient for us. Good luck in the process.
Anybody
We look
have
forward
any
to your
questions
questions.
for our panel, direct them specifically to a person?
Okay, we'll take your question. I'll repeat it, and then if anybody would like to take the answer, I'll bring in a mic. Okay, so the question is to talk about applying to specific programs direct versus other options where you don't have to necessarily be admitted directly during the freshman process. Is that your question?
So Education's actually the only program that we don't have direct admission to currently. You have to, because you have to pass practice 1 to get into the program, you also have to have a certain GPA in pre-education courses and a certain GPA to get certified for the program. So you can't apply directly to the education program. It may change soon, but right now you can't do that. But every other program at Eastern, you admitted directly program. And you're directly admitted to the pre-education program. It's just a certification piece you have to do after your sophomore year.
Pretty much the same exact thing at UConn in terms of it would be ACES pre-education, and then you would go into School of Education after that, and it's a 5-year program where the 5th year is a master's year. But there are other programs. Nursing is direct entry. Our School of Pharmacy no longer has a pre-pharmacy year, but we have a new early assurance program where students can fulfill those requirements the first 2 years and before they're guaranteed a interview, but not accepted.
Thank you. Okay, another question?
If your student's planning on taking the last SAT for that she has ready to go, do you recommend waiting for that last score with the hopes of it being better?
I'd recommend just skipping it, come to our open house, to be honest with you.
So you've already taken the SATs? Yes. Okay. You took them too? Just kidding, just kidding. So in regards to if your file's fully complete and you're going to take the last SAT in October, I would recommend getting everything in before that. And let's say I will be the person reviewing your application. Say I reviewed it in sometime in November and I had not received those scores. We will get updates throughout the reading season where, what's your name? Yeah, Gabrielle? Emily, sorry. It's been a long day, sorry. Yeah, exactly. Emily's scores came in and they were, X amount points higher So we'll go back in, look at everything again, and you know, make any necessary changes or adjustments, things like that.
And my second part is, how do you feel a scholarship award? So I hear that you can actually negotiate.
I would definitely not use the word negotiate. I don't know who told you that. But basically, we also, during the reading of applications, that's when we decide who, and when I say we, it's more the people above me, our admissions committee, but we make those decisions on the honors program and merit scholarships. When March 1st comes and everyone receives their decisions, we are kind of waiting in our offices, and then phone calls start flowing in. You can make an appeal to be re-reviewed for scholarships, but I will be completely honest that you know the percentage of those that do get overturned are minimal. Okay, there's X amount of dollars that we can give out for scholarships, merit scholarships. So you know we give everything out that we can, and it kind of goes from there.
What would be the average, UConn's
UConn's
merit?
merit, I would say for an in-state student, we have some scholarships that are about $5,000 to $10,000.
Your first question, the second part of that question is basically my life for about 2 months. People calling me, asking me to appeal their decisions, and my friend got this much money, and I got this much money. But at most schools, you can't do that. But there is that knowledge that methods out there that you can't do that. So I don't know, I get called every week. I get 4 or 5 calls saying I get more scholarship money, and most of 90% of the time you can. But
Private, I hear that.
Would you like me to comment on that?
Your turn.
As you're gathering, we're talking about scholarships and appealing a scholarship award, asking for more money, basically. We never have anyone call us and ask us if we'll lower their scholarship. And so there is an appeals process for students. As was mentioned earlier, I wouldn't call it negotiating an award, but there is a process by which students or families, we love to hear from the students as well. In this process, we more often hear from parents. And we will be happy to take another look. And sometimes that results in us being able to make an adjustment to a student's award, but unfortunately, that's not the case in all cases. But we'd be happy to have that conversation with you.
I would imagine financial aid, a major life event that changes, maybe somebody loses a job, you would take that into consideration.
Absolutely. So we have both a scholarship appeal process, but also a financial aid appeal process. Sometimes, and of course now that we're working on the prior year for filing, I guess you call it prior, for filing the FAFSA, a family's information and financial circumstances can change along the way, and there are sometimes circumstances by which a family may ask for us to take another look. And again, we'll be happy to do that. It doesn't always mean it results in the answer that you might like, but we are happy to engage a student and family in that process.
By the way, next Monday, we will have our financial aid night. Questions like that can be answered back. Any other questions?
I have 2 questions about the subcommittee. We've done on the committee that actually reads the rest of the application, and then the second one is how that
I'll take a quick answer at that and then pass the microphone. So in our case, the question was about who reads the essay and what weight does it carry. And so the committee that's reading the student's application, including the transcript and all of the other pieces, is the person. So it's one person reading at a time in our case, and then we'll make notes and consult with other committee members. But that is the person who's reading the essay and pulling all of the information present in the student's application materials, including the essay. And I would say in terms of weight, as was noted before,
it is an opportunity for us to hear a student's voice and to get to know the student in the process. While we offer interviews and campus visits and lots of other ways of talking with us, we don't get to know everyone who applies. So it's really an opportunity for us to get to know the students. So we love to hear their voice. So I would say it's important in our process, but secondary to a student's grades and curriculum.
So while the essay is not required, if you sent it in, I'll be glad to read it. It does help me get to know the students better. So please, send them on in.
I will be reading every single one of the essays from Danbury High School, but in other cases, college will be looking in on it depending upon the situation.
Yes, and here the counselor who's reviewing the application reads the essays. The weight, it depends on the circumstance, I guess. So it's, right, like say the essay is not going to turn a C student to an A student, but if there was something that, circumstances that happen in students' transcript. So maybe there's a bad year, junior, senior year, and maybe they were sick, or family member was sick, or there was a death in the family. That type of essay tells us, it answers some questions that sometimes the transcript has. That probably has more weight. And then the other piece of it for us is when we have those marginal students, so there's only so many students I can admit. So if a student is in that bubble, we're not sure what to do with, that's when the essay becomes really important. If somebody who has all A's and a $1,500 SAT score can put blah, 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 and we're probably all admitting that person. But it really is that marginal group of students that really, at least at Eastern, plays most.
Nothing to add.
Anybody else?
The question again was, for a student who only submits 2 or 3 applications?
Yeah, if you say don't send 20 applications.
Oh, no 20, no.
You say 2 or 3, if they don't call the kids, what have to do?
So, if I think I'm following you, is, as a student, generally in the process, the student should be looking at, is this a school I want to attend? Is this a school I'm going to be happy? Is this a school potentially I can afford? But is this school have my program of study? But also, is this a school where I can academically gain admission? And I always say that the Common App, actually the average submission to the Common App is actually 4.96 and has been unmoved for many, many years. So although the stories are out there of the students who, 10, 15, 20, those are actually the exceptions. The norm is 5 or less. And if a student is going through the process with mom and dad and matching the school up with my ability, the school up with my choices, my preference, or everything, a student that applies to 3 to 5 schools is going to find 3 or 4 schools that will fit and will gain admission. So that's kind of the general rule.
But I think what you wanted to know is, what is your price for 3 or 4, and no one accepts what is next?
I got it accepted.
But again, following that advice and that logic, that's a scenario that should not happen. With the 4,400 colleges and universities in the U.S., there's a spot for everybody. And again, it is all about fit, but you also have to match up that criteria. Seriously, do my grades and test scores match up with the student that school is looking for? I always I have conversations with people, they talk about the reach. You want to reach this far, not this far. There are dreams, also pipe dreams. I do not recommend those for families. I say the application submissions should be realistic based on my academic credentials.
And the deadlines are staggered. So we talked about early action, which have those earlier deadlines in November or so, December 1st. And then regular deadlines come up a little bit later in the season, so January-ish. So students tend to apply early, and then they'll kind of have an idea early on if they're getting some acceptances or if not. And at that point, students tend to come to us and say, whoa, I didn't get accepted to this school. This is a school I really wanted to go to. Help me. Let's come back to the drawing board. And then we start to look at those characteristics. What were the characteristics that you really liked in the school you didn't get into? And let's look at other schools that could offer you that same kind of feel and fit. And let's get those applications going before it's too late in the process. So I would say really big piece is to use us as your resource. Have your students, please keep in touch with your counselor. Let us know. Once you start to get decisions back, if you're feeling uneasy about it, let us know so that we can help you before it's too late in the game.
Your students should all be familiar with Naviance, which is a program we use throughout the school. That's the way to communicate. It's how we send our transcripts to colleges. But there is, under colleges, a way for them to look at their numbers, which should be in their GPA, their rank, their SAT scores. If not yet, soon they'll be in there. And then they can look at the schools of interest and see how they compare with those schools. They can also look at our scattergrams in there to see who from this school got into a particular school. And sometimes you don't see any class. Because, yeah.
For the College Board website, I was told that parents should open up their own account with it or something, or the kids should have a second account because you can't access it when they graduate. Is this true?
No.
The College Board account is not the issue, it's the email. So if it's tied to the school's email, then if they forget their password, what happens is now they can't get in because they don't have access to the email from Danbury High School anymore. So always use your own email, not the school.
And should you have any questions, you can always call them up, and they're more than happy to make it right, whatever is wrong. Anybody else?
Quick question, what do you do, what is the course of action if the GPA on the DHS website does not match the GPA on Naviance?
You mean the GPA on Power School?
Yes.
Naviance sometimes takes a little while to update, so we just got GPAs. It probably will be several more weeks before it catches up. Any other questions?
I know that you guys referenced the GPA on 4-point scale. I know Danbury High School uses 4.5. How does that make it quicker through the process?
It's a nightmare. There are schools that are on 7, 8, 10-point scales. I was not a math major, so it can be a challenge sometimes.
At Eastern, there's a lot of them, but we converted. So we just figure out what scale would be on a 4-point scale and then divide it by that number.
All right, so it's just as simple as that.
Yeah, I think it's about 0.88. So yeah, we just converted that, which is challenging though, because the student will say, you know, my GPA is this, and then we're like, well, that's not what we have it at this. So it is important that, you know, that most schools are going to round down to the 4-point scale.
And you guys then are aware of what the scale is at the schools, or they write in?
Yeah, it's on the school profile, and then most of us, we read by school, so there's one counselor with everyone from their high school, so they know.
Anyone else? All right, so we're going to discuss, sorry, Dr.
Yes, on our website, if you go to our main page, quick links, and then it'll show you course search, so it'll show you what's being offered that semester. So currently, we'll have what is there this semester, and then mid-November, we'll come out for spring semester, and usually mid-April, will come out for next fall. They always have the courses and what they are, and they're a little trick. And when you go on the search, there's a bottom little box, and it says optional. But if you write DNBY, Danbury, it'll give you just the classes in Danbury. If you have any questions, I'd be glad to show you.
One more question.
I was wondering, does class rank play a role in that admissions process?
Going back to what we were saying earlier in terms of reading the school by school. We will, at UConn, we will look at the class rank here at Danbury because we know the school profile and you know, the strength of the GPA and class rank. So it really does go school by school.
Our school, only one person holds a specific rank, 1 through 750.
We will look at the class rank as well at Eastern.
All right, excellent. So thank you all so much again. At this point, we just want to take a few minutes to talk about the process, kind of from a holistic perspective. So at this point, counselors are meeting with seniors in small groups through Flex and individually as needed. So please, again, use us as a resource. You can reach us by email. Your student can come into the office and make an appointment to meet with us. What we'll be doing at those meetings is talking them through, some of you have a 2-page handout. We're talking them through the actual steps to complete their application. If you didn't get one of these handouts, it's accessible on Naviance. So students all have their Naviance access. Some parents have asked us and gotten their own parent access. We're happy to provide that for you as well. Otherwise, have your student log in. On the home page, way at the bottom, is a documents link. That's where students can pull these steps, okay? We'll be talking about the process though as we meet in Flex, and this is still very early in the process. So some of the things that we're going to be talking about are the student portions, one of which is to complete some steps in Naviance for us. So I just want to take some time to differentiate between Naviance and the Common App. The Common App is the online application that students are filling out to apply to schools that accept it, okay? Other schools do not use Common App. They have a paper application, as we heard from Naugatuck today, or they have their own application specific to their college or university, all right? So that piece Ms. Chance is going to talk about in a few minutes. In addition to completing the parts of the application on Common App, the Institutions app, or the paper application, students complete some steps for us in Naviance. That way, we can send documents from Danbury High School electronically to the schools where students are applying, right? That takes out the parts where we don't know, right, that colleges have received so much transcript or letters of recommendation. It all goes electronically now, which is excellent. So we're going to guide students in Flex through the steps in Naviance. It was asked today, what if the Naviance GPA differs from the Power School GPA? Please know that the information colleges see is in the information from Power School that we send electronically via Naviance. It's not pulled from Naviance. I also want to make that distinction because students' PSAT and all of their ACT and SAT scores can be viewed in Naviance. Please know we're not sending those to colleges and universities for you.
That's strictly for the student and for you.
Strictly for your use. It's so that that data is pulled in so that you can learn about what your chances are of getting into a school through those scattergrams, which pull from your GPA and your SAT, PSAT scores, or ACT scores, compared to those other DHS students who apply to those schools. So think about Naviance as just the way that we electronically transmit documents to colleges and universities, and as your kind of private resource, okay, of information.
Letters of recommendation also go into the Naviance via the teacher. They should already be. If not, they can go to their counselor and they can go to the Career Center. Yeah, or just shoot us an email.
And we'll give you your parent account. Okay?
So at some point, they would have taken several SATs or they have several AP scores. Can you differentiate which scores you want to send? Or do you have to send all AP scores that you've taken, whether or not 2 or 5, they all get sent together?
So students absolutely choose which AP score they end up wanting to share with colleges, which ACT score. ACT scores are given a composite score, so they take all the sections, come up with the average, and call that the composite. If a student is sending their ACT score, that composite is really just that average, and it does not combine test dates. Okay, very different from the SAT, where we have heard today that colleges will super score. That means that students can take the SAT on various dates. So average, I would say 2 days, sometimes 3 days, usually not more than 3 times will a person take the SAT. And you can send multiple test dates if a student had a higher math score on one particular date and on a different date had a higher evidence-based reading and writing.
And don't worry, if you send all the scores, because they are only going to choose the ones that are better than the rest.
Yeah.
So make sure your students have a couple of things done. One, we need your parent's signature on the transcript release form. We did have some of them up front, but you can go into Naviance and find that in forms. We cannot send transcripts without your permission. The other thing, make sure your students have asked teachers for a letter of recommendation. One really has to be an academic, math, and English, and science. The second can be maybe somebody they work with, maybe a elective teacher, somebody from outside. So, feel free to, if you're not sure, email us. If you want to meet with us, no problem at all. Another thing is we are going to have the Danbury Mall Fair. It's going to be October 21st, so that's another opportunity to meet with all these great people from several colleges. And I encourage you to go if you've not gone before, because your students may think they are interested in a particular college, but as they go from table to table, they may see a school that they've never heard of before and engage in a conversation and realize, wow, I think I really like this school. So, and aside from that, meeting with the people who are manning those tables, often those people will actually be looking at that student's application when it comes in, and it's nice for them to put a face to the application, and they will engage your student. They will get their email. They will talk them through the process many times. What else should we do?
A piece about the fee waiver. So if your family is eligible for the free or reduced lunch program, please let the counselor know, because we do not have access to that information, and we can provide students with fee waivers for college application fees, SATs, ACTs. So that's just important for us to know.
For those interested in Naugatuck, recent change, no application fee. Pay $20. And save the counselors, they don't have to do waivers anymore.
So just remember, these college advisors, they get many letters, many essays to read. So really, no more than 2 letters, 3 tops maybe. Sometimes they have to do a counselor letter, so they would ask us, but that's like a separate piece that's not included in maybe the 2 or 3 that some schools will only take. And the essay. Make them really think about what to write about. I'm sure you've gotten essays that you get a little bored with, so, let them be creative. It can be certainly something they can feel passionate about, but it can be virtually anything if they can write well about it.
All right, are there any other questions about the process or anything else that we spoke about tonight? Yes?
So how do they do it here when the colleges come to the school?
So great. College admissions reps visit Danbury High School in our Career Center. Students can sign up to meet with those reps in Naviance. They know how to do that. They don't have them check in with us. We'll help them figure that out. Many times those representatives are the representatives reading our students' applications. So that is a great opportunity, yes, to gather information about a school to help decide if that's a place a student might like to apply, but also an opportunity to network for a student to come in and introduce themselves, make a personal connection, so that that person is connecting the name with the face, right? So that's really up to the teacher. So they want to check in with the teacher in advance, let them know, hey, listen, such and such a school will be here on this day. This is when I have your class. I'm really interested in attending that school. Would you mind if I go down for 5 or 10 minutes to introduce myself, get some information, and I'll come back as soon as I can. Really, it's up to the teacher to allow the student to go as long as they can free them up for a few minutes during the class.
As soon as they get onto Naviance, their homepage, you will see the colleges listed who are coming that week. So they can sign up actually by either going to the Career Center or right directly on the Naviance link. Well, they should have asked June.
And they did.
And they should be. By now, they would have had it, most likely. If you're approaching any deadline, feel free to go to the counselor and say, you know what, can you give the teacher a little push? And you can just remind them, and they come.
I will say though, if the student asked in June, it's a good idea for them to follow up with the teacher and just remind them, hey, I am still excited for you to write me a letter of recommendation. Is there any other information I can share with you? And then maybe lots of times I have the students say, just let the teacher know, I've added you as a recommender in Naviance, so Naviance is all ready for you to submit once your letter is ready. And my earliest deadline is November 1st, right? So a teacher can kind of prioritize who they need to have ready then.
And I recommend your students to apply as early as possible. If they can meet those early action deadlines, that's great because it shows a real interest in that college, and it shows that they're organized enough to actually get it together to send everything that they require. Certainly, I tell my students by November, before Thanksgiving, get those applications in. This way, it's off their plate, and they can start thinking about scholarships and and FAFSA opens up October 1st, so make sure you start that.
And we will be having some kind of work.
Yes, we're hoping to have, well, I'm sure, I know Mr. Scott will come in, and we will do FAFSA workshops within our school during flex time for students who maybe aren't quite sure how to do that with their piece, and maybe the parent needs some help.
How can someone find out where other Danbury High School graduates have attended in the past?
You can go on the scattergrams that, as you choose a college to look at in Naviance, you won't know their names, but you'll see how many students.
Yeah, you can say which college, like every college, how many students, and college, what have you already go through this, you can say, it's possible.
It's possible, you have to choose one college at a time.
Yes.
I think you answered part of my question, so, which is about the timing of the other pieces of the application besides the outline. So the teacher letters, the counselor letters, the transcript, all of those really need to be submitted really about the same time as the application. And then the FAFSA, can that be later, or?
Yes, the FAFSA can go later. What's important is the application. As counselors, we do the teacher letters, the transcript, our letter if asked, and that all goes at once. And it can go before their application is sent on their side, after, just as long as they're getting, things eventually together that they need. Now, SAT scores directly from College Board. We have nothing to do with that, so you'll have to go make sure your student goes into the College Board, and unfortunately, I think it's $12 a pop to send to the colleges.
So the student can be responsible for the application right now during the first quarter of school, and the family can help support the student by completing the FAFSA as soon as possible after October 1st. Can't do it before, but you can do it starting October 1st. And that is something that families should complete as early as they can, because as we heard today, colleges give out money as students send their financial aid, their FAFSA in.
So sometimes what's confusing is every college in the Common App must be in Naviance. So it sort of has to be in two places. Naviance is how we send a transcript. So every school, even if Common App does not take a particular school like you can, I think does paper. So that has to be in Naviance. All the Common App has to be in Naviance. The ones that go by paper have to be in Naviance. If if your student, if your student wants a transcript sent, it definitely has to